Hello and thank you for joining us from wherever you are. We are live from our studios in Kokomlemle on digital address GA09925339. Our top stories this hour. Tensions rise between Ghana and Nigeria as President Akufo-Addo's apology is rejected by the Nigerian House of Senate. We're live in Nigeria as Ghana's Police Criminal Investigative Department arrests 2 persons in connection with the demolition of the Nigerian High Commission or a Nigerian High Commission building. We have a lot on our story today. Minister for Education and that of Reorganization and Development admitted at the University of Ghana Medical College Center. We will tell you why. Also coming up, incumbent Member of Parliament for Kwadaso constituency loses seat as Dr. Kingsley Nyako emerges winner in the primaries held this afternoon. We are live in the Ashanti region for the latest. And 40 people arrested for not wearing face masks as police embarks on a mission dubbed Operation Wear Your Mask in the Central Business District. We are live with the Accra Region Police for more. Are you wearing your mask? I hope you are. We're live on your digital television, also on DSTV channel 421, GoTV 144. Remember, we are streaming live on YouTube and you can get in touch with us on all our social media platforms. Send your thoughts or WhatsApp on 0540-109-009. My name is Gifty Andopia. This is The Pulse. Please be my guest. You're welcome to the show. I'll take you through the details. We're heading straight to the Ashanti region where the incumbent Member of Parliament for Kwadaso constituency seems to be heading out of Parliament because Dr. Kingsley Nyako has emerged winner in the primaries that was held this afternoon. Nanaya Ojima has been following that story for us. He joins me live in the Ashanti region. Hello, Nanaya. So essentially, 3 people stood for that election: Vincent Frimpong Menu, Kingsley Nyako, and of course, Sme Grants. Well, Dr. Kingsley Nyako is a person who is emerging winner this afternoon, and we're going to get the details of that for you as we head to the Ashanti region. Kwadaso is one of the constituencies that did not hold the primaries over the weekend. Remember, Saturday, the NPP held its primaries, and over 40 members of parliament or 40 incumbent NPP members of parliament are on their way out of the house. Let's get on to Nanaya Ojima, who is joining me live in the Ashanti region to give us details. Hello, Nanaya. Hopefully you do hear me, Nanaya. Take us through how the primaries went today, and we're hearing that the incumbent member of parliament is on his way out. Go ahead, Nanaya. Okay, Nanaya, I do see you, but I can't hear you. I think that your microphone is off. Let's try and put it on and do give us the details of that particular primaries. Nanaya Ojima, like I said, is standing by in the Ashanti region to give us the details of that from that parliamentary primaries that has just ended in Kwadaso for the Kwadaso constituency. Let's head back to Nanaya Ojima. Nanaya Ojima, your microphone must be on now. Go ahead, tell us what happened.
So I would want to run you through the results that we have. That's the certified results from the Electoral Commission. And Kingsley Nyako managed to poll 172 votes. Dr. Sme Grants, who is the incumbent member of parliament for Kwadaso constituency, managed to poll 158 votes. And Vincent Frimpong Menu came third with 41 votes, and they had no spoiled ballot. That means how they are supposed to vote, the delegates did well to do that diligently, and that is so far what we have. So the incumbent member of parliament, SK Nyama Doctor, has been defeated by Dr. Kingsley Nyama, and I would want us to go through the history of Kwadaso constituency. And the constituency was carved out of the Bantama constituency, and Madam Hilda Addo was the first parliamentary MP for the constituency, and he managed to be in the seat for just one term, and from there, Dr. Owusu Efriye Akoto, who is the Minister for Agric, took over and spent 2 terms in Parliament. And from him, SK Nyama, the incumbent member of Parliament, took over from him, and he has been defeated after just 1 term in office. So from the numbers or figures that we have, it means that there were a lot of people who voted in favor of Dr. Kingsley.
Nanaya, can you hear me? Okay, looks like I'm losing Nanaya there, but he was taking us through the Kwadaso constituency and what there is to know as far as that constituency is concerned, how the voting patterns has been, who has been in Parliament and who has lost that seat. Of course, Kwadaso has been one of the most contended areas, and which is why the primaries did not come on earlier this weekend. Today, it's just happened. And Nanaya Ojima, Nanaya, I do have you go right ahead with what you're telling me earlier.
So I was concluding on where we are now, and what I'm saying is that Dr. S.K. Nyama, who happens to be the incumbent member of Parliament for Kwadaso constituency, has been defeated after just 1 term in office. So he joins the tall list of incumbent members of Parliament to have been defeated in the current primaries conducted by the NPP in the Ashanti region.
Well, let me find out whether any of them has been speaking, Nanaya, following the primaries.
So I've managed to speak to 2 of the aspirants who contested the elections. So first was the winner of the election, Dr. Nyako, and to him, he's happy that today he has emerged winner of the elections, and he is calling for support from the other 2 aspirants to help him win power for the NPP in 2020. So what he wants to do is to increase the votes that Nana Akufo-Addo was able to garner in the previous election, that's the 2016 election. So he believes that if they come on board and help him with political strategies, he will be able to win massively for Nana Akufo-Addo. And also I had an interview with the man who became 3rd on the list, that's Vincent Frimpong Menu, and he says probably his strategy for this election didn't work as expected. So he will go back, do his homework, and maybe in the next 4 years, he will come back and contest the elections. But he also promised to support the winner in the winner in the next elections, help win more votes for Nana Akufo-Addo and keep his government, that's the NPP government, in power.
Interesting. There. How did this particular election go, Nanaya? How was it held? Give us a mental picture.
So I've been here from 7 a.m. when the election started through to 1 p.m. and I've visited almost all the 10 polling stations in the constituency. And I must say, delegates did conduct themselves very well, except the Apatrapa constituency or the Apatrapa polling station, where there were a few issues between the winner, that's the supporters of the winner, Mr. Dr. Dr. Kingsley Nyako, and also the incumbent, Dr. S.K. Nyama. And from what I was able to gather from the eyewitnesses, according to them, one of them came in and he was trying to go around the polling station, have some interaction with the delegates who were at the polling station at that time. And some of his supporters were cheering him up and they were happy to see him. And very soon or later, one contender came in and he also received a lot of cheers from his supporters who were present at the polling station. So these two, in showing their love for their candidates, clashed, and there was heavy military presence on the ground at that time, and there was also reinforcement who came in to stop what could have been an open for all fight among the supporters of the two candidates. So that was the issue there, but police and the military were quick to intervene, and after that issue, soon it was 1 o'clock when the election was supposed to end. So it ended and counting started. But till I left there hadn't been any issues. Things were calm. Aspirants and their delegates and their supporters waited for the ballots to be counted and left the polling station peacefully. Interesting.
Now, finally, how was COVID-19, or how did they observe COVID-19 protocols today, given what happened on Saturday?
So throughout the period from morning, they were going by the protocols. When you come in here, you see automatic hand washing points dotted across all the polling stations that I went to, and whoever comes in was made to wash his hands, wear his face mask, and it was clearly written on the walls that without face mask you'll be denied voting. So they all came in face masks and went by all the protocols. For all the polling stations I went, there were seats reserved for the delegates. So whoever walks in goes through the process, sits down and observe all the protocols before he gets the opportunity to cast his ballot. So if you look at COVID-19 protocols, they were strictly adhered to until it got to a point when they had to count the ballot and also bring them to the collation center. So I can speak for the collation center. Here at the collation center, the police tried to restrict entrance into the center because it is a walled area. But the supporters outside, when I got here, were packed outside, and some were in face masks, others were not. And together they were merrying because at that time some of them knew who was winning. So those who were in clear lead were outside and they were clumped together, making merry, jubilating among themselves. When I got access into the area or the polling station, I saw some of the people, or the police ensured that everybody in here were in face masks. But unfortunately, as time went on, when they were getting to know or the results were unfolding, some went wayward, doing whatever they wanted to do. So some took off their face mask, others were getting closer and making merry, disregarding social distancing protocol. And when the name of Dr. Kingsley Nyako, the winner, was mentioned, his supporters all went around him and carried him shoulder high. So clearly they were in breach of the social distancing protocol and other protocols. Even we journalists at a point breached the protocol in attempt to get interview with some of the candidates.
Nanaya, thank you for that update. Very comprehensive one, I should say. Nanaya Juma there, joining me all the way from the Ashanti region. Kwadaso, to be specific, where the NPP primaries there, which was on hold, has just been held. We know that the incumbent has lost or is on his way out as he lost in this primaries. We'll bring you more of that in our subsequent bulletin. Right now, let's turn our attention to education. 3 schools in the yet-to-be-created South District are yet to receive their full complement of PPEs. Akpafu Senior Secondary Technical, Likbe Senior High School and St. Mary's Seminary Secondary School have so far received thermometer guns, hand sanitizers, as well as face masks. The other items that officials are saying are on their way. Apart from that, the day 3 of the school's reopening has also been characterized by a very low number of students reporting for school. The Sal area is currently under the supervision of the Hohoe Municipal Assembly. OT correspondent Peter Seno will be joining me shortly with the latest, but he reported earlier on what his checks in the senior high schools in the OT region revealed.
The low number of students reporting for studies, especially the third years, after 2 months closure of schools due to COVID-19 restrictions, teachers say it's worrying.
And 104 candidates were to arrive. Yesterday, we have been alert to get them in class and teach them. But by the end of the day, we have 3 students in school.
We are ready and waiting for the students to come. Because we know they will be coming, we have prepared and ever ready. So anytime they come in, we'll begin business. It's so demoralizing because, you know, the exam is not too far from now. And so we expect that the children will come in, you know, especially now that they are not paying fees. Government is taking care of everything. All they have to do will be to come into the school with their luggage. And so we are so disappointed that they are not coming.
For KJB Asatu Senior High School, official records say of 1,043 expected students, only 200 of them had reported Tuesday. Similar reports ran through 22 other senior high schools in the region. Teachers in schools operating as day or non-residential say feeding is becoming a challenge as no catering services are allowed on campus. The teachers argue that moving to and from town during break periods would disrupt their schedules.
No food. We are going to have classes 6 good hours without any break. If there will be break at all in the class, 15 minutes intervals. It will affect, you know, we are not to go out and come back. Once you enter, you must stay on campus.
So what do you suggest?
I suggest teachers, you see, we have what we call hot meal for the students. They can add something so that teachers can also enjoy it.
Media reports suggest that some tertiary and senior high schools have already recorded positive COVID-19 cases. This, teachers have argued, should qualify them for some incentive packages. The Deputy Oti Regional Minister, Maxwell Kofi Blagoji, has been reacting to that.
In the position to say whether they deserve it or they don't deserve it. They are also delivering all their, providing services to these children. Whether they are coming into contact with people who have COVID-19 or not, it's an issue of also delivering service that they think they deserve it. And what we can do now is to give them the assurance that whatever they are doing, there will be compensation for them at any cost.
JoyNews can confirm that the 23 senior high schools in the Oti region have received some amount of PPEs, although they argued not enough. Teachers can only appeal to parents to facilitate their wards' early return to school for preparation towards their final examinations. Peter Senu for JoyNews.
Hello, Peter.
Hi, Dixie, I can hear you.
Peter, your report indicated earlier that the students who are turning up for school, the numbers are rather low. You also reported that the PPEs had reached some of the schools, but some other schools are still waiting for the PPEs. What has changed?
Well, Dixie, if anything has changed, it is a surprise we got today from 3 schools. Likpe Senior High School, Akpafu, Tech, and then St. Mary's Seminary and Secondary School. They are yet to take delivery of the full complement of the PPE. As we speak, they do not have liquid soaps, they do not have tissue and papers, and then they do not have Veronica buckets. What is provided them is the thermometer gun, the face mask, and then the hand sanitizer. So that is what these schools have. And then what officials are saying is that the rest are on their way. And when they will arrive, we do not know. And still, the low numbers of students reporting is still across the board. Of the 3 schools we have visited, the numbers are very low. Teachers are present to work. 50.
Yesterday, when you reported, you indicated that some of the Veronica buckets, for example, were defective. Did the authorities, school authorities, make any reports? Has there been a response to that?
Yes. The Deputy Minister only encouraged them to find an innovative way to make good use of them. But as to whether they'll make supplementary provisions for them, we do not know. 50. Okay.
Peter, thank you for that update. Peter Seno there, joining us with the very latest on the schools that have not yet received PPEs. But let's take you to Bono East region, because our schools across the country reopen after that long COVID-19 break. The students there, I'm talking about Bono East region, are calling on authorities to hasten the supply of face masks to ensure their safety on their campuses. They made this call when the Bono East Regional Minister Kofi Amwakohene visited some schools to ascertain first-hand information on implementation of the safety protocols in the schools. Correspondent Anas Sabit has more.
Unusual break as a result of the outbreak of the novel COVID-19 pandemic. Schools across the country have reopened with final year and second year gold track students back on campuses with academic work already in session. We visited some senior high schools across the Bono East region to ascertain security measures put in place to ensure that safety protocols are being adhered to on campuses. At the Techiman Senior High School, some of the students told JoyNews that the school has put in place safety measures capable of protecting them from acquiring the virus.
Yeah, I think we are safe because looking at the measures put in place, we have been told to distance ourselves and to always use a sanitizer whenever we touch something. So we know that at least we are safe. So the fear is no more as compared to first when we were in the house.
They've given us sanitizers and loose masks, and also they motivate us or encourage us to obey all the protocols so that we will not be affected by this pandemic.
Though some personal protective equipments, including hand sanitizers, Veronica buckets, liquid soaps, thermometer guns, among others, have been distributed to these schools. The nose masks, which forms part of the items to be distributed as indicated by the President in his last address to the nation, is yet to get to these students. They call on authorities to fast-track its distribution.
Although they promise to provide, but they have not yet got it. So we urge them to bring it more faster so that it can aid us in our safety. And also, like, the secrecy that they asked us to bring. Maybe we didn't bring enough. So if they will ask some to us, it will be better.
The team, led by the Bono East Regional Minister, also visited the Akunfi Amiao Senior High School in the Techiman North District. Here, just like the Techiman Senior High School, social distancing protocols and the use of nose masks were strictly adhered to by the students. Sanja Dora told JoyNews that her sole wish is to see teachers commit themselves to helping them in passing their final exams.
What I can tell or I can say is we like the teachers to be coming to classes each time they are having their lesson to come and take us so that it can help us and also supervise us to learn our books so that it can help us to pass our exams well.
For the Bono East Regional Minister, Mr. Kofi Amwakohene, parents should send their children back to school because all safety protocols are being implemented to cater for these students.
We need to go around to inspect the schools, whether the existing protocols measures has been taken care of. And indeed, the schools that we've been to so far, you attest to the fact that, in fact, the schools are safer than home. So I would encourage every parent to make sure that the ward come to school by tomorrow, because they have all the necessary PPEs, and then even the classrooms are so much emptied, and the teachers are there. So I think everybody should make sure that the ward come to school and as early as practicable.
With regards to the personal protective equipment, Mr. Amwakohene indicated that swift action will be taken to ensure that all PPEs get to the schools within the week. Reporting for JoyNews, Anas Sabit, Aurwa.
Let's head to Oti region and talk to our correspondent Peter Seno for more on the latest development there. Hello, Peter. Hello, Peter. Okay, I also have Anas Sabit on, our correspondent for the Bono East region, whose report we've just played. Hello, Anas, do you hear me? Anas, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Great. So in this your report, it indicates that not all the schools have received their PPEs. Has anything changed today?
For now, we are yet to receive any confirmation as in the fact that those PPEs we realized were not supplied to the schools have been submitted. In fact, with the exception of the nose masks, almost all the other PPEs have been supplied. They have been told by the regional authorities that they are expecting the nose masks to be in between today and tomorrow. We are yet to have any confirmation as to whether they've been submitted or not, except that the schools have already instructed the students to come to the school, to report to the school with at least 3 nose masks. So these are what the students are relying on for now, with the government's promise nose masks yet to hit the ground.
So yesterday you went around with the minister, the regional minister. What response did he give to the students who are calling for the face masks?
Yeah, the response the minister gives them is those consignments, I mean the PPEs. In fact, he stated that the nose masks are already in the region, and their assessment is what is being considered now. So from the minister's assurances, they are going to get them within the week. That's before the close of the week. He assured them that yesterday.
Anas, thank you for that update. If you are in any of these areas that we've done stories from today, the Oti region, the Northeast, the Bono East region, I beg your pardon, and then the Kwadaso constituency, I'd like for you to drop us a message on our Facebook page and we'll share it with the rest of the world. We want to know what's happening around you. What are your thoughts of the developments there as well? Let's head right away to the courts. Now, 2 of 3 legal hurdles that the Electoral Commission must scale in order to carry out its planned registration of voters will be settled by the Apex Court tomorrow. The justices will decide whether the registration slated for June 30 should come off and whether the existing voter's ID and birth certificate can be used as proof of identification. A Deputy Attorney General, Godfrey Adame, in his closing arguments to the courts today, described the current electoral roll as bloated. The court today also dismissed a request by 4 think tanks asking to join the case to provide information relevant to the determination of that matter. Court correspondent Joseph Akable reports.
But look, the laws have spoken and we can't quarrel with that. We just have to live with it. But I hope that the decisions they arrive at eventually would be the decision that everybody can live with in this country. Otherwise, I'm just disappointed. I think my colleagues here are equally disappointed. This was an introduction to how cases are determined in court. I was quite awed. I mean, at some point I was laughing all through.
The think tanks Imani Africa, Conservative Policy Research Center, Institute for Liberty and Policy Innovation, and the Alliance for Social Equity and Public Accountability had asked to be allowed to join the 2 cases. The NDC and private citizen Mark Tichibanson are asking the Apex Court to stop the AC from compiling the register or allow the use of voters' ID and birth certificates as proof of identification. Lawyer for the think tanks, Joe Debra, said they could assist the court with relevant information to help it resolve the matter. He was, however, stopped in his tracks by members of the panel who questioned whether they are indeed coming as friends of the court to assist it or as friends of a certain party in the case. Chief Justice Kwesi Eninyeboa asked the lawyer whether he had read the 2 cases pending at the Apex Court. He responded that he had not read it but had only seen some affidavits. The Chief Justice asked how he could then conclude he can add something new to the court if he had not read the writs. Another member of the panel of justices, Paul Bafo-Boni, said the court was well aware of what the CSOs had been up to and is quite aware of their position on the matter. He said the processes filed shows they are not coming in to assist the court with any new information useful to concluding the matter, but rather coming to support a side. He remarked, quote, "You are not neutral," end quote, adding that they would have better served their interest if they had joined the party in the case they were actually supporting. Mr. Debra responded that they are asking to join as citizens who will be affected by the court's decision. Deputy AG Godfrey Adame and the EC's lawyer opposed the application, urging the court to dismiss it. The NDC's legal team opted to only say it had nothing useful to add, while Mr. Tichibanson's lawyer took the same view. The court dismissed the application, holding that it was without legal basis. Franklin Kujo of Imani expressed surprise at the court's decision.
Look, the laws have spoken and we can't quarrel with that. We just have to live with it. But I hope that the decisions they arrive at eventually would be the decision that everybody can live with in this country. Otherwise, I'm just disappointed. I think my colleagues here are equally disappointed. This was an introduction to how cases are determined in court. I was quite awed. I mean, at some point I was laughing all through. But I guess lawyers know their trade, and the judges also know their trade. So yes, we can't fault them. They did what they had to do. But I think that to suggest that the amicus was not neutral was a bit far-fetched, really.
He says this will not stop the group from going ahead with its activism.
Well, the suggestion that we should have joined a case is well taken. But the point also is that what does that mean for an amicus? You know, I mean, in other jurisdictions, people file amicus cases anyway, and they take positions. We do have an interest in the matter. I mean, I suspect that is why we actually decided to file the brief. So to suggest that the brief was not neutral, I don't understand that language. I think they probably didn't even read anything, but anyway, they made their decisions, and we can live with that.
Is this the end of the road for you in terms of your activism related to this particular issue?
Well, this is a country of law and order. I would think that the courts have decided what they have to decide. It doesn't stop us from activism. We'll keep on speaking about the matters because we think that these are critical matters of public policy. I think the courts have benefited soundly from sound public policy, but they chose differently. And so, well, here we are.
Once the court delivers its judgment on Thursday, the only pending case against the EC will be the one filed by Sharman MP and Esnogbe, which is due at the High Court on Monday, June 29.
Court correspondent Joseph Akabley filed that report. I'm going to take a very quick break here on the pause. When I return, we'll talk to you about what government is doing. We're told the government is disbursing some $9 million to small and medium-sized enterprises. Well, do you qualify? How can you access that fund? When I return, we'll talk about that. Do stay with us. The Ghana COVID-19 Private Sector Fund has launched a crowdfunding initiative to raise money to complete its flagship project, a 100-bed infectious disease isolation and treatment facility at the Ga East Hospital here in Accra. Work on the facility began in mid-April after President Akufo-Addo broke grounds for work to begin. Mamavi Owusu-Abuaje was there. Here is what she brought.
I'm at the project site of the Infectious Disease Isolation Treatment Center, the only one of its kind in our country. The last time I was here, just about a month ago, this was not there. It was just the foundation, but look how far we've come with the project. I am back again, this time taking up the challenge thrown at all of us by managing trustee of the Private Sector Trust Fund, Senyo Hosi. He's asking all of us to contribute at least 10 Ghana cedis to the completion of this project. I am just running so I can catch up with him. He would explain where we are with the project. So come with me.
Currently, we are doing the external landscaping. As you can see on the walls, we are doing the texturing so we can get the painting going on. We are still testing paint colors out there. You can come with me.
All right. So here we go.
This is actually the floor of the entire building. This is the main entrance. So this is the ambulance ramp that would enable us to have...
Explain again.
So you have an ambulance ramp. So what we do right now is external landscaping to enable an ambulance climb up a ramp and then drop patients for care.
Okay.
And this is the main entrance. You can come this way.
So Senyo is taking us on a tour of the facility. Of course, the first time I came here, it was just the foundation.
That was just about a month and a half ago, I think. So this is going to be the main entrance of the building.
Okay.
We call here the pre-trial area. When patients come here, we sort them out. If people, we don't have certainty about their level of infection, we put them in the trial area to the side, right? And then there's another set of rooms here where we isolate, take tests till we confirm they are infectious. So you don't have people who come here with suspicion of infection, actually rather picking an infection in here. Okay, so when you're crossing, that's what we call the corridor of hope.
This is the corridor of hope.
This is the corridor of hope. It actually walks you straight into the entire ward treatment areas. So these are standard rooms for the wards.
Can we take a look?
Yeah, we will. We will take a look. Any of them works. We're just clearing out the floor so we can actually start the floor work. So the windows are up. You can see the ceilings are about to be done. We are working 24 hours so we can still cover and then hopefully meet our set deadline. The ICU is way down the corner, which we'll be working up to. So same. So you see the rooms are pretty big, but they are big because with infectious diseases, you want to minimize cross-contamination. Here is our nursing station, which is also being firmed up. And what you see there is the medical block. That's the access. It's a one-way access coming in. Where you are right now is more the entire treatment area. We'll go to the ICU section briefly.
Okay.
The ICU has been fully sponsored by the Bank of Ghana. The Bank of Ghana fully sponsored the ICU. And it's going to be the first unit that's being completed. We'll go down that way quickly before we miss.
So this is the ICU?
We'll walk in there, but I think you see what's going on here. We have an 800 kVA generator. 800 kVA generator being installed. Currently being installed by AXA, who are the suppliers of our generator. So you can see that's going on because it's going to fully powered by air condition, treated air conditions. You're going to have all the air coming in UV treated and all the air going out also UV treated, so you don't have contamination coming in or going out of the building. It needs a lot of power. This place is fully climatically controlled, so you need backup power at all times. We are yet to actually get ECG to actually connect the place. We are not too sure whether they will be doing it in time or not. And we've also taken a decision not to pay for that kind of service. Connecting here is not something that this project should be paying for. But using the grid is something that the facility will pay for. But getting connected is not something we'll pay for. So we started with generator to power it, and we expect ECG to come through in time. So these are the ICU units. This is a typical room for the ICU. You see the ceilings this is going to be the first to be done possibly by the weekend, and then the rest will also join through, early part of next week. The ceilings are up. We should be having the flooring done by the weekend. If you have a visit, I think you should see that. So these are the bathrooms. Typically, ICUs only keep bathrooms. But we're making room for people who may be in between that situation where they could possibly move and take their own showers and use their own bathroom.
And you say this is adopted, the Bank of Ghana has adopted this ICU unit?
Yes, the Bank of Ghana has adopted that. Here, for example, it's a monitoring unit. All the ICU rooms are supposed to have CCTVs because these are people in critical conditions. They hardly move. You need to be able to make an intervention when there's some form of urgency. So you're going to have the nurses and some of the medics here who will be monitoring them on screen. This is another one for another part of the ICU. Then crossing over is where you have an extremely critical case. So these ones, you have very isolated people. So you have, all these are one-way accesses, fully blocked with hermetic controls there. This exclusive, one-room, extremely critical care places. So you just have one bed and a patient who can practically not move at all. Has an extremely critical case. Everyone here will be on ventilator. That's what you're likely going to have. So you have 5 of them out of the total 21 bed ICU unit. This takes you out of the ICU block or the ICU wing, and it takes you into the exit corridor. This place has 2 exits. One that way and one this way. This exit is actually meant for patients who are expired. So patients who pass on, they go into a cold room here, we call the cadaver. The cadaver is a cold room. And then this aisle is where the medics would always pass to exit. They would have to walk through this place into what we call the decontamination chambers. This is an infectious disease facility, so people coming here would have to be effectively PPE controlled or protected, so they don't get infected. But when they are going to the medical block, they need to clean them, so they don't go into the medical block with any infection. So you do that decontamination in the chamber. We have 3 chambers. That's why the facility is unique. So you realize that the workflow for a normal hospital is not the same as the workflow here. The entrance into this facility and your exit are totally different. Because the only way to exit is for you to be properly decontaminated. This is the first of the chambers. I go. Yeah. And this is the second of the decontamination chamber. And then you have the third. By the third, you have the medical officer or nurse or whoever is serving here, the frontliner, is clean and now can walk into the medical block. This medical block has a pharmacy. It has, the whole place has a pharmacy.
So that's a pharmacy.
It has 2 dispensaries, and it also has a lounge for the medics. They can have their lunch, and there's a kitchenette out there. So they can have some comfortable place, watch TV, relax after their stressful times in there. There are a number of meeting rooms that go all the way to the end. And you also have the lab at that point. The lab we are putting together is supposed to be close to what you have in Gucci. So most of the cases that come here, we don't need to wait for samples to be sent all the way to another lab before you can confirm whether somebody has an infection or not.
Mama Vio Guswabuaje, with that tour there, we'll look at how the facility will come out finally. But that's not the only thing the government is doing. Government is also set to disburse a total of $9 million to small and medium-sized enterprises and other businesses operating in the tourism sector. The package, dubbed Ghana Tourism Development Project Grant Scheme, is financed by the World Bank and, according to the Tourism Ministry, is expected to alleviate the plight of businesses, especially those in the tourism and art industry in the coronavirus era. Speaking on the sidelines of the launch of the scheme, the Minister for Tourism, Arts and Culture, Barbara Otenjesi, said the initiative will benefit over 1,000 small businesses.
The grant scheme that we have launched today is one component of the World Bank Ghana Tourism Development Project, which is a project that is funded by a World Bank facility obtained by the government of Ghana for the Ministry of Tourism to address identified challenges in the sector. Because the government has indicated that tourism is a pillar for transformation for the country, and therefore all efforts are being made to support the ministry to ensure that the sector grows. So this grant component of the World Bank facility is going to all operators within the tourism value chain. SMEs, small, micro and medium enterprises, to access the funding to improve their businesses, and through that also to get a boost in our tourism numbers. And this facility, $9 million, we estimate that we can support initially about 1,000 businesses. That is estimating about 50,000 per applicant. But what is reassuring is that the World Bank has indicated that if we are able to successfully implement this initial support, we can get additional funding under this grant component. So I would like to entreat all our businesses who will be applying that if you are successful, ensure that you use the funding for the intended purpose and generate the benefit from that. And it is from the post-implementation evaluation of the impact of this initial $9 million, which will enable us access more funding. No, this is a project that is ongoing, being implemented by the ministry, and under it there was this grant component. But fortunately or unfortunately, the implementation of the grant component has coincided with this COVID pandemic, which has impacted significantly our sector, and most of our businesses are suffering. So we see that through disbursement of this facility, it will bring the needed support to our businesses, aside from the other interventions that government is also providing to businesses generally. This is also going to support our businesses directly, and I think that it has come in good time.
Barbara Tinjesi, the Senior Minister Yao Osafo-Maafo, added an initial amount of $9 million has already hit the account, and the government is expected to get additional funds soon.
Today marks a very important milestone in the history of the country's tourism, arts and culture industry, as we launch the first ever tourism enterprise support program. This is the first time such a scheme is being implemented in the history of this country to support the tourism industry. The grant scheme, among others, aims at supporting registered individual enterprises and other enterprises operating in the tourism and hospitality sector. I think we got the good news that the initial capital of 9 million is just the initial capital, and if you apply and the promotion goes on and the change we all expect in the tourist industry takes place, definitely this will be the beginning, and there will be a lot more money put in. Indeed, normally when the World Bank finances a project, it's an initial sum. You expect other donors along the line to buy into it to make it bigger. So I would say that the operators of this should make a success out of it and will attract a lot more money into this whole enterprise.
Okay, so let's get down to the ground. How do you apply for this grant? Joining us via Zoom for more is Senior Manager at the Ghana Tourism Development Project and also the grant consultant, Daniel Abebio. Mr. Abebio, thank you so much for your patience, having been on Zoom for a while. Good afternoon to you.
Hi, good afternoon.
So let's begin with the eligibility criteria. Who qualifies for this?
So before I go into the eligibility is actually tied to what you call the grant categories. Okay. So let me spend some few minutes to talk about the grant categories, then we can go into the eligibility. So there are 3 grant categories as far as the tourism development grants is concerned. The very first, which the Honorable Senior Minister made mention of, is what we call the site upgrade grant. So for all non-publicly owned tourist sites, if you are an operator of a non-publicly owned tourist site, you have the opportunity to apply for this fund and get some money to undertake some refurbishment and upgrade works so that your facility becomes more appealing to the eyes of tourists so that they are able to enjoy the stay. That is the first one. The second one is what you call the SME grant. So the SME grant targets businesses in the tourism value chain, so i.e. hospitality, leisure, arts, and all of that. And it's actually meant to support already viable businesses, emphasis, viable businesses. So not necessarily business ideas, but businesses with very developed business plans and they're already making some profits. Perhaps because of the COVID situation, they are challenged in one way or the other. The facility also supports them. And then the very last one is what we call the capacity building grant. The capacity building grant targets what we typically call the MSMEs, the micro, small and medium scale enterprises. So here the emphasis and the focus is really on new business ideas. And the expectation is that for such people who have new business ideas, they might not necessarily have the capacity to develop them and take the business to the next level. So the grant will afford them the opportunity to develop them, train them, give them the tools, the necessary things they need to be able to develop their ideas further and make it a viable venture. So that is what the 3 categories of grants are and how one can benefit. Now let me move straight into the eligibility. Now we talk of 2 sets of eligibilities, one for businesses and the other for individuals. And individuals here are, I made mention of the capacity building grant, where you are dealing with people with new business ideas. Now for businesses, Obviously, this is a government of Ghana facility, and so it is meant to benefit Ghanaians. The business must have majority ownership in the hands of Ghanaians. You want to be seen to be doing the right thing, so it is meant to support businesses which have the right registration, so i.e. you should have been registered with the Registrar General's Department. 2, the business should have physical location in Ghana. 3, it must be owned by an individual who actually has registration with any of the tourist association. And the reason for this is that you are dealing with the tourism industry, and we know that for such things, it also creates opportunities for people to put in application, even though they might not necessarily be the targets. And the emphasis on having people who are associated with associations within the tourism industry would help us to validate and confirm the existence and the operations. So that is for businesses. For individuals who would typically benefit from the capacity building, obviously you need to be a Ghanaian. You need definitely to be employed or be in part-time employment. You should have been trained or undergoing some sort of training, because the issue is that, the point is that because the facility will provide funding to enable you have the training, we want to ensure that you're already tied to some institution of a sort, and then the funds will be made available to them. All we want to avoid at this stage is to give monies to individuals, and in the end, they are not using it for the right purposes and intention that have been designed for them. So basically, these are the eligibility criteria and the grant categories that we can talk about. I
see quickly, and as you wrap up for me, the senior minister mentioned that we're having $9 million at the moment, but that there's still much more money expected. How many are we expected, and when?
Thank you. I like the question. So yes, there's currently the World Bank has disbursed $9 million, or has pledged to commit $9 million. Like he rightly mentioned, the quantum of money to be disbursed after the initial $9 million is not known. Now, it can be even more than the initial $9 million, depending on the performance of this particular grant. So I can't stand here and tell you it's 2 million, 3 million, or 15 million, but we know that there's a potential for additional funding to be made available by the World Bank.
How many people is your target? Or how many people are your targets? How many people are you looking to reach with this $9 million?
So the $9 million, let me first of all give a breakdown. We mentioned 3 categories of grants. The site upgrade is for 4 million, the capacity building is 1 million, and the SME grant is another 4 million. Now, in terms of number, the initial number is an estimated 1,000. But you would agree with me that depending on the submissions that come in, it might be less or more.
I see. And how much can each person, let's say it's a small-scale business that employs like how many people roughly, even before I bring in my question?
Okay, so the categories, like I mentioned, is from micro to all the way to medium.
So give us a number range.
From 1 to 100 employees.
Okay, 1 to 100.
Being, 1 to 100 across the range, yeah.
Okay, and you can apply for how much?
Okay, so this is a matching grant. And by matching grant, what we mean is that you have something you want to do to improve on your business performance. You don't necessarily have all the funds available. Government says, I am making the facility available, the fund available to support part of the work you want to do. So you need to demonstrate that out of the total cost of, let's say, 500,000, 50,000, 100,000, I don't know what the project is, but you need to demonstrate through your proposal. Out of the 50,000, I have a 20,000, I have a 25,000, I need additional 25,000 to get it done. Now, the government has given assurance that given where we are because of COVID-19, if you can demonstrate your part funding through in-kind, we can waive it and still go ahead and give you the fund. So in terms of how much, it really depends on the project you want to undertake, what you want to do, and once you can demonstrate that it will benefit the wider society and create additional jobs, why not? We'll go ahead and give you the money.
And which
so
business?
There are no limits.
Oh, no limits. Sounds interesting. So which limits, which business areas are we looking at? People who do what? So, energy, agri?
So it's actually within the tourism, leisure, arts, culture industry. So anybody who operates within that particular value chain, you are eligible to put in an application.
When can we start applying?
Application starts immediately after the launch by the senior minister, and it continues up until on the 8th of July 2020. Now, that is the first set of the window that has been opened. Once that has come through, we'll review, give outcome, and all of that. But occasionally, this is actually a number of years projects.
Okay.
It's left about 3 more years. So once that window is passed, we'll open nomination again, and people can still put in submission. But all of these, please look out for advertisements, information about it in social media, on your screens, print media, and all of that. So tomorrow, we are expecting that for official advert would also go out, given that the launch has been done.
So the deadline for the first, tranche is 8th of July.
Correct.
8th of July. So now it's open. People can start applying now because it's been launched, right?
Yes, people can actually apply by logging onto the website of the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture. You will see Ghana Tourism Development Project. Express your interest now. Once you go onto the site, you see it. Then you can also visit the website of the Ghana Tourist Authority, which we call the visitghana.com website. Okay. You can also get it there. There's also a social media and WhatsApp app that is going around. Right. I'm sure pretty soon it will get to wherever you are, that you can also use to put in an application.
Interesting. Thank you very much, Mr. Abebio, for this information. So if you are a small-scale business or operator, you employ between 1 to 100 people, you're eligible for this. Go to visitghana.com, express your interest there. You can also go to the Ghana Tourism Development Project part on the Ministry of Tourism website, and you can get that information there. How you can apply, you can get it there. Daniel Abebio is the one I just spoke to. He's a senior manager at the Ghana Tourism Development Project and also a consultant. That sounds interesting. So the deadline is 8th of July. You want to be fast and make sure that you get your share of the national cake over there. Now, scores of people have been arrested in a special operation to enforce the use of face masks whilst in public places as part of measures to stop the spread of COVID-19, as made mandatory by President Akufo-Addo. Officers were deployed to the Central Business District of Accra yesterday, where persons without masks were arrested. Let's get more from Police PRO for the Accra region, DSP Efiatenge, who joins me via Zoom. DSP Efiatenge, thank you for your time and also your patience. Good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon, Gifty.
So tell us more about this operation. Which specific areas did you target and why?
Yes, thank you very much for the opportunity. For some time now, I think we have been ringing the bell. We have been telling people to put on their nose masks as a measure to stop the spread of the COVID-19. And so the enforcement bit of it, what is the police ensuring that people comply with the relevant laws. So yesterday, the railways operational team, led by the district commander himself, Mr. Asante, they had to embark on this operation that has been code-named Operation Wear Your Mask within the Central Business District. And it was within this area because we know that a lot of people thrown in for business activities, people coming in to buy a lot of stuff here and there. So we see a lot of people in the market area. And so if we have to enforce the mask, the wearing of masks, it means that one of the areas that the police should be targeting is the Central Business District. So this was done within the peripheries. Here we're talking about the TMB, and also an area like the railways itself, Katamanto, Rollins Park, and the rest. And after the operation, we were able to arrest 40 persons, and all these persons were brought to the police station. Their various statements were taken from them, and then later in the day, they had to be granted police inquiry bail for them to report. And I'm told that this morning they have been reporting, and the police is still processing them and seeing the next line of action to take against these persons.
People, what exactly are we charging them with?
Oh, I think it is very simple. We know the Imposition of Restriction Act, and also we know the EI 164 that makes it mandatory for all of us to put on our face masks. And so failure to put on your face mask per the EI, I think, is an offense, and which offense sanctions has been provided under the Imposition of Restriction Act, that's the Act 1012-2020. So it's the charge is very simple. So the police have begun working on these ones, and we hope that we will go far with them. And this is not just a one-day operation. We expect that the other jurisdictions per the command or within the command should be doing same. It is a directive, it is a law for all of us to put on our face masks. And so we, the enforcement component, should be doing our work. We should be seen to be doing our work. So that is what we are doing. And yes, the police will not be so much interested in arresting people. What we want to say is that people should be used to the wearing of masks, because for some time now it has become a lifestyle. And anytime we dress and we're going out, one thing that you should not forget is your face mask.
So let me just quickly ask.
To pay?
Okay, wrap up with what you were saying.
Yes, so why go to court to pay the amount which has been provided by the law if you can just prevent that by putting on your face mask? Okay. So it is an education, and we are asking people to do so that you do not come, you don't have problems with the law as we speak at the moment.
These people, were they not wearing masks? There are people who were not wearing masks at all, or people who were not wearing it correctly?
Yes, most of them were not wearing them at all. And you can come to the area, even today, a lot of some monitoring has been done. Some do not put this on. Others also said, I have it here, but it's in my bag. Others say, I am wearing it, but it's around my chain, which should indicate that, yes, I am putting on my mask. But once you are interacting with a person, once you come in contact with somebody, then we expect that you put on your mask. We will not listen to any excuse if the police find you not in your mask, or not wearing your mask, or a face shield, or anything that covers your face. So we'll continue to comply with the general public to do what is right and ensure that we stop the spread of this COVID-19.
Are they all going to court? I mean, 40 people, we're talking about coronavirus now. We have 40 people who have been arrested. And of course, the law provides for either being jailed or having to pay. I think it will be at the discretion of the judge. But should the judge decide that some people should go in, is the police really resourced to take all these people in the midst of coronavirus?
Yes, I think that should be a question that should go to the prison service. And actually, we began taking people to court during the enforcement of the partial lockdown. And some people have been convicted. And so those who are unable to pay the fine, I know that they are serving their various jail terms at the various prison service or areas. And here for Accra, those who will be arrested, yes, these ones are taken to the Ankafo prison. So I think for the capacity as to whether the custody or the prison service is resourced enough to be able to take in these persons, maybe the prison service can help us more. But for us, our hands are tied, and we have to do what is expected of us as police institution.
When next is the operation taking place?
Yes,
when and where?
The operation has begun. We are continuing, and we expect people to be aware of this and comply accordingly. That is something that we are doing. We may not specifically go on an operation. Apart from the operation that we go, we may also do some random checks at places where we feel that people are not wearing face masks. We're even in the course of our main policing duties, like patrols, monitoring, any activity of a sort. Once we are mandated by law to ensure that people wear their face masks, and any of our police duties, we can still find out and make sure that people are wearing their face covers as the law requires.
DSP Fiatenge, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. DSP Fiatenge speaks for the Accra Region Police, and they say 40 people have been arrested today around the central business districts. They've been, their caution statements have been taken. I think they've been cautioned as well, and they've been sent out on police inquiry bail. We'll see how that goes. But if you're around that area, wherever you are, you want to wear your masks so that you don't get to either pay or get to be in prison. Now, since the outbreak of COVID-19, many Ghanaians stranded abroad have been itching to return home, but the borders are closed and the hope of being evacuated seems to be rather slim. In the last few days, there have been reports of some Ghanaian footballers in Ethiopia pleading to be evacuated. There is more in this report.
In Dubai, a group of Ghanaians sleeping rough on the street were taken in by Dubai police early June. Several dozens of people, all from Ghana, were found sleeping in a park in the city's southward district, officials said. Days after, between 40 and 50 were taken to a temporary accommodation site at Jebel Ali. And by Wednesday afternoon, a full group, including 77 men and 3 women, were transferred to a new site at our cause. Officers said they were in contact with Ghana's consulate, where dozens had gathered on Sunday and Monday to ask for help.
But Ghanaian players are Ethiopia now.
In Ethiopia, the situation is not any different. These Ghanaian footballers just want to return home. But some have been lucky. Earlier this month, a Ghanaian footballer was rescued from an Indian airport after 74 days due to the country's coronavirus lockdown. The CNN reported 23-year-old Randy Wanmula flew to India on November 7 for a 6-month contract to play soccer for ORPC Sports Club in Kerala, South India. Today, many more Ghanaians are believed to have been trapped in foreign countries and want to return.
The experts in greenhouse farming providing technical support on how to manage greenhouse facilities effectively to improve yield whilst protecting the environment from the devastating impact of climate change. In Ghana, Tech Shelter is the leading agribusiness, a service-oriented company that helps farmers to improve the efficiency of greenhouse farming using technological innovations. Yesterday, we brought you our focus on our climate focus series, talking about how Tech Shelter, for example, works. Today, we remind you of them once again.
Our planet is sitting on a time bomb. Ghana is at the mercy of the drastic impact of climate change. Unmitigated sunshine, unpredictable rainfall, and depleting soil fertility, among others. How can the country deal with the threat of climate change while solving some of its basic problems? In a series of human-centered stories, we shine a light on some of the most basic innovative ideas that could help bring change and what the Ghana Climate Innovation Center is doing to scale up these ideas.
For many years, Ghanaian farmers have cleared very large hectares of land to grow food and cash crops to feed themselves and the entire nation. They use old farming methods that produce very low yields while relying on the unpredictable rainfall patterns, fertilizers and pesticides. The devastating impact of climate change is making this way of farming very unproductive. climate-smart agriculture methods like greenhouse farming have been seen as a way of ensuring food security. In Ghana, Tech Shelter is the leading agribusiness service-oriented company that helps farmers to improve the efficiency of greenhouse farming using technological innovations.
Greenhouses are, by design, a strict regime kind of growing of crops, and you're supposed to maintain certain activities in fixed times and schedules. So some of these were managed manually, and these manual inefficiencies affected yields. We also observed that some of the greenhouse farmers lacked the requisite knowledge to be able to understand even the language of the crop, the agronomy of the crop, knowing what to give to the crop, even getting feedback from the crop, because the crop would normally be by the fruits you get, the color of leaves, and so much more. So the agronomy, there was a gap. The time of delivery of agronomy was also a problem. Even when they have endeavored to even do this 40% of yield, they had a problem of connecting this produce to market. That was a major problem. So you do well to produce under this strict regime of production and only go out there in the open market to compete with all these open field products, which probably are not premium.
This is a team of engineers, agronomists, agro-trainers, logistics and supply chain experts who come together to deliver smart technological solutions in greenhouse farming. After years of painstaking studies in this sector, this team of young innovators started a search and rescue mission to re-engineer some greenhouse facilities.
We instituted the search and rescue project because we realized that many farmers had given up hope on the process of running greenhouses or using greenhouses as a way of growing crops. So we set out to rather, instead of starting just new ones, let's go look at those who have got their greenhouses non-operational to get them back to operations and make them profitable. So in our search, we saw a lot of them. We saw a lot of greenhouses which were down. But engaging the particular owner of this place was quite interesting because he was more willing to restart. Many of the others had given up hope because whatever you said, it was like they've heard that story before. They've heard that story before. So when we engaged this particular greenhouse farmer, he said, okay, guys, try with the first 3 because he had 6 on his farm. So we kicked up the first 3. And when he saw the yields and how our operations were going, he felt there was no need to wait any longer. So he handed over the entire space that, guys, take over the space and do what you want with it. And over time, we've grown from the 6, and now we're at 14. We added 8 new ones last year.
Since then, this agribusiness startup is growing very fast, providing an engineering solution to agricultural problems in the open field.
So the greenhouse space, as compared to the open field, has its advantages. The beauty is that within a greenhouse, you use very less land to produce high yields as compared to the open field. So per square area, you can actually go between 12 and 15 kg per square area as compared to 4 and 5 in open field.
So let's talk more about Tech Shelter and also talk about climate action. Administrative lead for Tech Shelter is Gifty Minta Kwashi, who is joining me on Zoom. Hi, Gifty. Okay, Gifty, I hope that you can hear me. It sounds interesting hearing my name. Okay, Gifty, do unmute for me. It looks like you're muted. This happens a lot. Well, I think we'll have to organize a full-blown classes for unmuting on Zoom because everybody that comes on the show seems to be on mute. Gifty, I hear you now. It's good to have you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you, Gifty. My name.
I know, right? Doesn't it sound funny? Let's get also on Zoom and bring in Yaba Ajiman Hafa. She is entrepreneurship consultant with the World Bank, which of course is supporting the Ghana Climate Innovative Center. Bring you this. Hi, Yaba.
Hello to the two Gifties.
I know, right? It's good to have you. Let me start with Tech Shelter. Gifty, your project seems to be working for the environment, but summarize it for us, for people who have not taken their time to follow the video through, in a nutshell, and for people who want to, get the information quick. What is it really about?
All right, so thank you very much once again, Gifty, and good afternoon to all your cherished listeners. So basically, Tech Shelter is an agribusiness company that focuses on using both software and hardware solutions to help greenhouse farmers to maximize their efficiency and also increase yield to help feed a growing population. So in simple terms, that's what Tech Shelter does.
Interesting. How do you think we can replicate this across communities? One person can do it all, and climate action is a big deal. I mean, it's a huge field. How do we replicate this?
All right, so that's interesting. So currently in Ebri, where our project site is, we have about 20 greenhouses that we call it the Tech Shelter Greenhouse Village, encouraging people to come into the greenhouse sector, because with the little resources you have, you'll be able to produce more, and which of course doesn't affect the environment and also affect the species. So one thing we need to do is to create more awareness for people to understand how greenhouses work and how effective it can be if we are to put in more effort in the awareness creation. I think it can be replicated at other communities. And so far, so good. We've been able to do a feasibility test in other communities to replicate these greenhouse structures and this greenhouse village in other regions in Ghana, and also to expand in other countries. As we speak, my team went to Nigeria somewhere last year, and we are looking forward to expanding into other countries as well. So this can be done. It's very possible. It's just about creating the awareness for people to understand how climate change is actually real and how it has an effect on our land, animals, even our health. So it's about the awareness creation, which is most important. Yeah,
that's good information you've shared with me. But I guess what I was after really was, so I am becoming very attracted to growing flowers. I mean, not necessarily growing things that I will eat, but I am gradually becoming very attracted to growing flowers. So I guess what I'm after is, how can somebody like me, if I, of course, has the space to do something greenhouse, how can I start? What can I do, you know?
Okay, it's possible. Just come to Tech Shelter, we'll help you out.
No, now you are being stingy with information. You should share for people to learn how they can do that, if it's possible to share that sort of information right now.
All right. So basically, Tech Shelter, it's possible. So basically, it's possible for you who is interested in growing flowers or roses in Ghana, grow them, because we actually did some last year, which is that we've stopped doing that, and we're growing more vegetables. All you need to do is to get the structure. You don't need a lot of land. You just need your backyard and acquire just one structure and start with the little you have. I mean, it's possible. We have the agronomists to help you who have the know-how to make sure that all your roses you want to grow to be done in Ghana here, because there's market. If you have your own market, why not? You can grow it. And also, a greenhouse, in its sense, is a microenvironment where crops are grown under regulated climatic conditions. So you can't say, I'm in Ghana and I can't grow roses. I'm in Ghana and I can't grow strawberries. The greenhouse environment helps you to grow all kinds of crops in the greenhouse. So that's one benefit greenhouses give you. So if anybody is watching me and needs or wants any help or advice in terms of greenhouses, just contact Tech Shelter and we'll be available to help you and sort you out.
You know, you've got a real marketing strategy that works. It certainly works. Yeah, well, let me come to you. And one question that I ask all those who are supporting this project is, are we exaggerating? Or what do you say to people who say that, look, we're making too much noise with climate action, climate this, climate that? What do you say to people like that?
No, I say, sorry, I hope you can hear me.
I do, perfectly.
Okay, great. I say that, you know, climate change is a major issue affecting every part of the world today. You can't escape it. And to mitigate harmful effects that are increasing by the day and threatening our future and really the future of generations to come, it's really important that we welcome a multitude of solutions to tackle the issue from many different angles.
So tackling from many different angles, you're working with the Ghana Climate Innovative Center. Let's look at the sort of impact so far. What can you speak to encourage people to see that this is actually something that works?
Yeah, so I think GCIC's approach to fighting climate change from Ghana is refreshingly innovative, it's timely and very effective. So GCIC has recently led the charge of doing something quite novel in Ghana. They search for exceptional Ghanaian ventures and entrepreneurs who are building locally appropriate climate change solutions and growing green industries, just like what we saw of the footage from Tech Shelter. And then GCIC incubates and invests in these enterprises, providing business advisory and mentoring services and other technical assistance to support their innovation and to help it grow. And one important point is that GCIC is assisting Ghanaian businesses to take part in the larger global green economy. So the World Bank has estimated that the market for clean technologies is $6.4 trillion in this current decade all the way through 2023. And it includes renewable energy, climate smart agriculture, just like Tech Shelter, waste management, clean water, and also clean transport. So much of that market is captured right now by foreign businesses. So if you think of, for instance, a Spanish renewable energy developer using Chinese-produced machinery to set up, let's say, a wind farm in Ghana, GCIC wants to support Ghanaian companies to capture that market instead of foreign businesses and to keep the jobs and economic gains across the clean technology value chain right here in Ghana. So in short, the support GCIC gives green entrepreneurs across the country, helping their businesses to be more effective and to scale ultimately, and I think effectively, contributes to a more sustainable and green economy.
So for those who are still skeptical about these efforts, and I know people like that who can engage you in a lot of argument when it comes to. We've had our own arguments in the newsroom over all these green interventions. So for those people, about what can you tell them to perhaps change their mind, give them food for thought going forward?
What can we tell them to change their mind? Well, I think one thing about going back to the GCIC is that, we're tracking some really important results. And I think once you see the results that are coming from the project and the various entrepreneurs and companies that we're working with, you'll really understand the importance of putting forth programs like that. So for instance, this project was expected to provide targeted support, mentoring, training, and funding facilitation to 90 companies in Ghana over a period of 5 years. And the project has actually exceeded this and supported over 100 companies, which is, very important for climate change, very important for the economy. And we've expected and seen increased revenues and job creation for these supported companies. And, the type of things that we track, it's just really important to just be knowledgeable of all these things, why these companies are coming out and, how we're kind of measuring their impact is, one, we're measuring the impact on the climate, and two, we're measuring key entrepreneur metrics. So, for instance, we track the carbon dioxide emissions avoided, and we know that carbon dioxide is it's harmful to the climate, and that's why we're trying to reduce it. We also track the number of households with access to new or improved products and services, and a matter of fact, the project has exceeded expectations with over 340,000 households receiving this kind of access. We track the number of low carbon or energy efficient technologies supported. And the people who have received access to modern energy. So instead of using regular firewood to cook your produce, you have organizations that are now looking at more user-friendly or environmentally friendly products, such as bamboo, because the smoke is much less than with regular firewood. And even as Gifty was saying, for your own health, sometimes you can tell the difference on a very basic level when you're burning regular firewood and inhaling it, as opposed to burning, a more climate friendly type of product.
I think I should be very honest and say that this is the interview that I've enjoyed the most, the GCIC interview that I've enjoyed the most. I don't know if it's because I'm talking to women who are leading this part, or if I'm talking to someone called Gifty, but I really enjoyed this conversation. Gifty, I'd like to take your final words as we wrap up on this, and I'll still come for more, tips on how I can create my flower garden in a greenhouse. Gifty, your final words.
Why not? Sure. All right. So what I would like to say to people watching is that they should come on board. That's coming into or farming in the appropriate way by investing into the greenhouse farming or going green. Let's encourage other businesses to also go green. Whenever they are going into business or whenever you want to create any business, make sure you have the environment in mind before you create the business. Don't just do business because I'm just getting money out of it, but also have the environment in mind, your own health also in your hand, and the world as a whole. So all the best to everybody and stay safe. Yeah.
Thank you, Gifty. Thank you so much. I really, really enjoyed this conversation. Yaba, do you have any final words to share with us before we depart?
Yeah, I just like to say that, in terms of getting people, thinking about just how we can be more environmentally friendly, especially with regards to businesses, I think there's three things that we can focus on. One is to create, the country should be responsible for creating and promoting an awareness drive specifically directed at businesses to encourage environmentally friendly practices within, their various operations. And really, climate and environment should be looked at as a business opportunity and not necessarily as a burden that businesses need to meet. And I think, secondly, national policies can be put in place to ensure that businesses are environmentally conscious and responsible. So, for instance, there could be green sensitization requirements that come with official company registrations to ensure that businesses are at least aware of policies or best practices, before they commence operations, as well as tax breaks and incentives for companies to adhere to. And then lastly, the education of our young ones is very important. Schools, households, churches, mosques, all have the responsibility of ensuring that Ghana's children, who will undoubtedly grow up to be our leaders and business people, know what it means to take care of our environment and to have the opportunity to be green innovators themselves. So visiting organizations like Tech Shelter, listening to people like Gifty, the two Gifties, it's really important. And I feel that if we play our cards right, they can all be champions and enforcers of a green, sustainable Ghana and of our world. So I think most importantly, we need to keep educating ourselves. And I salute you and your team at Climate Focus for using your platform to do just that, because knowledge is power.
And we salute all of you, especially you consulting for the World Bank, for also supporting in this. I've been talking to Gifty Mintakwashe. She's administrative lead for Tech Shelter. And then Yaba Ajman Hafa, who's an entrepreneurship consultant with the World Bank. Great interview it's been. Look at it as a business opportunity. I'm looking at it as a way of, swimming in a bed of roses when my idea becomes real. Thank you, ladies, for joining us in this conversation. I'm going to take you straight to Germany. Today, in our weekly crossover to that country, a new lockdown has been imposed in Western Germany as coronavirus infections go up following the ease of restrictions. I spoke earlier to our partners, DW. Kate Brady is correspondent with our partners there. And my first question to her was that 2 districts in Western Germany have had restrictions imposed in just weeks after the restrictions were lifted. I asked her why that happened.
Well, this is all due to a massive outbreak at a slaughterhouse in the district of Gütersloh in Western Germany. And almost 1,500 employees at that slaughterhouse have now tested positive for COVID-19. And for the past few days, all the employees, some 6,000 employees at this slaughterhouse, have been in quarantine. And as such, a few members of the public, so people who don't work at this slaughterhouse, have now since been also tested positive for COVID-19. So the state, North Rhine-Westphalia in Western Germany, decided yesterday to re-implement rather strict measures, both on the area where that slaughterhouse is and also in the neighbouring district as well, affecting hundreds of thousands of people. So until June 30th at least, all pubs, cafes, museums, restaurants, schools will all remain closed in those two districts.
So I also asked Kate what the situation was elsewhere in Germany.
Well, broadly speaking, a lot of places are still continuing to relax their lockdown measures and restrictions, but at the same time we are seeing some of these hotspots, these cluster infections, like at that slaughterhouse in Western Germany, popping up elsewhere. Even here in Berlin as well, 2 districts have now put several apartment blocks under quarantine after some more than 100 people tested positive for COVID-19. There's a similar situation at a town in central Germany as well, in Göttingen. And so the authorities and researchers, experts are really keeping a close eye on the fact that these hotspots and cluster infections are popping up at the moment in different places around Germany. But for now, it seems that they are being rather well contained to these specific areas. But of course, the second that they begin to spread outside of these contained environments within an apartment block or within a slaughterhouse, for example, that is when authorities are going to really begin to worry.
The final question I put to Kate earlier was that the fact that the rate of coronavirus spread has actually skyrocketed in that country. How concerned are authorities? And I asked her to explain to us the rate of infection.
Yeah, so the rate has jumped to around 2.02 at the moment. Just a couple of days ago, it was at 2.88. And the aim really is for this reproduction rate to be below 1. So, of course, at 2.02, that's a rather significant jump from what we've seen in previous weeks here in Germany. That said, the Public Health Institute, the Robert Koch Institute here in Germany, has said that although we've seen this spike in the reproduction rate of the coronavirus, there's not too much reason to worry right now, as this is due to these cluster infections that we were talking about at the slaughterhouses and at in some apartment blocks as well. But again, the moment that the numbers of new cases begin to increase on a wider scale nationwide around Germany, that is when authorities will really begin to worry, and we could even see more regional lockdowns put in place in coming weeks, depending on exactly how well these new outbreaks are contained.
Kate Brady is correspondent with our partners DW. He joined me earlier all the way from Berlin with what's happening there. So, as you know now, new lockdown in parts of Germany as the coronavirus cases rise when they eased the restrictions there. You're still watching The Pulse with me, Gifty and Apia. I'm going to take a break, and when I return, there are 2 stories I need to bring your attention to. We'll talk to you about what's happening in Nigeria because the Senate has rejected our apology following the demolition of that building here at the premises of the Nigerian High Commission. We'll also tell you how some 2 ministers are at the UGMC COVID Center. We'll tell you more. Welcome back to the show. Many thanks for staying with us. Education Minister Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh has confirmed JoyNews reports that he is currently on isolation at the University of Ghana Medical Center. A statement from the press secretary to the minister adds that the minister is currently awaiting results from a second COVID-19 test. He's not the only minister currently receiving treatment at the facility. We know that the Regional Reorganization and Development Minister Dan Kwekuboche is also checked in at the facility on Monday after displaying COVID-related symptoms. Head of our health desk, Fred Smith, is here to give us more. Fred, let's start with the full statement from the Education Minister. What are the details?
Well, the Education Minister in this statement, signed by Rodney Nkrumah Boateng, who is the press secretary to the minister, says the Minister of Education, Honorable Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh, announces that he is currently detained at the University of Ghana Medical Center, UGMC, in Accra. On Tuesday, the 16th of June 2020, he underwent various tests, including, well, 16th will be last week.
Yeah.
He underwent various tests, including COVID-19, after feeling unwell for a couple of days. He tested negative for the virus. Yes, I can confirm.
Right.
And this informed his decision to travel to his constituency for his acclamation on Saturday, the 20th of June, 2020. Following his return to Accra, he still felt unwell and decided to check himself in for further tests, including a second test for COVID-19. Although the results are not out, he has been detained at the UGMC as a precautionary measure for further observation due to his condition. This statement was released just this afternoon, 24th of June 2020.
Very well. He's not the only one. We also know about the Minister for Regional Reorganization, Dan Botwe. What more do we know about him?
Yes, Mr. Dan Botwe has not released a statement like we've had from Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh, but our information is that he's also at the UGMC.
Right.
He is unwell as well, and he we don't know if he has tested. His results are positive or negative, but he has taken a sample and a test is being done for him. We understand that he's a bit unwell, and so once we get some more information from on his situation, we can put it out. The two have still not been confirmed positive for COVID, but they are at the UGMC, and where the two gentlemen are being kept is exactly the area for COVID. There's a part called the red zone. That's where only COVID positive persons are kept, or persons who are fully clothed in the PPE clothing who go there. But we can't tell if they are positive.
Right. Well, those are the two ministers on your screen right now that we're referring to. We do know that the Minister for Education, Matthew Opoku-Prempeh, Doctor, has issued a statement. So we've confirmed that. But we do know that Mr. Dan Botwe as well is at the facility. Fred, that's not all. It appears that we're getting an increasing number of persons in high places contracting the virus. We do know about the Health Minister, the NHIA boss as well, Chief Executive and some other deputies. Who are the others that we know?
Well, you mentioned the Minister for Health. He's since been discharged from the UGMC and currently recovering at home. We know about the NHIA boss, Dr. Selby. She together with some other directors at the NHIA have also contracted COVID-19 and are also doing very well. We are not sure if any is in critical condition or has any severe issues. So we hope and pray with them as they recover. Right. We've also heard about the Kolebu Teaching Hospital's CEO, who we are told has also contracted COVID together with some of the leaders within his administration at Kolebu. That's what we have on these persons right now. We're getting some more names, some of them MPs, but we cannot put the names out yet. Some further checks are still being done. Okay.
Well, Fred, we're just getting news that's coming in right now about the coronavirus figures. They've changed. Indeed. Take us through them.
Well, 445 new cases. That's what we have. We have 11,078 recoveries. And we also have 15,000 confirmed cases since the outbreak in Ghana. Death toll is at 95, and we have 3,840 active cases. This is the number of persons who still have COVID-19 or are still being treated for COVID-19. 3,840. Good news is that we've had over 11,000 recovering so far.
So those are the figures right there on your screen. Those are the figures you're looking right there on your screen. The numbers have changed. We have 445 new cases. Fred, I don't know what your thoughts are on this breaking
Well, news. Our daily average, sometime 2 weeks ago, we're having hundreds. Then last week, we started having 200s towards the end of that week. And then we started 300s, and now 400. In fact, at some point this week, we had 500 in one day. And we seem to be going up each day. And so the preventive etiquettes that have been announced by the president must be adhered to if you want to reduce the cases as they are.
Okay, Fred, thank you. But those are figures that will bring you more on. But Fred is still here with me in the studio because there's another story that we need to bring you. This afternoon, JoyNews is learning of rising tensions between Ghana and Nigeria as the country's House of Representatives reject President Akufo-Addo's apology sent in to that particular country. You do know that it's all about the demolition of a building situated on the premises of the Nigerian High Commission here in Ghana. Fred is here to give us more. Fred, what more do we know about these tensions and the fact that the Nigerian Senate is rejecting our apology?
Well, yesterday we had news from Nigeria that President Akufo-Addo had called President Buhari to render apology to him for what had happened at the embassy in Ghana, the High Commission in Ghana, beg your pardon. And the two leaders had a frank and, peaceful conversation, except that after this conversation, the Nigerian government tweeted about it, and then the media picked it up. We're hearing today that the House of Representatives have rejected it. In fact, the Speaker himself, we had this interaction with our partners, Channels TV, who reported from the House itself that the Speaker and other House reps rejected the apology in its entirety because they think that this is one too many. It's happened to them in South Africa, it's happened to them in China. They can't take anymore, and that they must exact some sort of punishment so that Ghana will feel the pain and not continue with this. That's the situation in Nigeria as we speak. We know today the police CID actually arrested 2 people. They put 2 people they had arrested 2 days ago before court, and those 2 we have not been told who they are, but they've gone to court, they've been charged. Yet in Nigeria, they are not happy that the matter is going through the legal system. They think that something must just happen. Ghana must just repay or pay Nigeria for what they've lost, and some sanctions must follow. That's been the difficulty with this situation. In the next few minutes, we expect Ghana's foreign minister to hold a news conference, which we will bring live to our viewers. It is on this particular issue after conclusion of that investigation. You recall that the Deputy Minister on Joy FM yesterday promised that in 48 hours they will conclude with that investigation. And so far, that appears to have been done, and so the Foreign Minister will be addressing the media shortly.
All right, Fred, thank you very much. Fred is head of our health desk, brought us update on the ministers who were told are receiving treatment at the UGMC COVID-19 Center. We'll bring you more of that story, but we'll build also to speak to our partners, Channels. Will bring you that, as well as an international relations expert, Dr. Yao Gebe, in our subsequent bulletins. It's been great having you today. Let's do this again tomorrow, as I always say. But Sandra Islamapena is joining us from home, where she brings us Business Live. Right after that, we'll also bring you, 30 minutes after that, I should say, we'll bring you JoyNews Prime. Do stay here with us. My name is Gifty Andopia. Why don't you log on to myjoyonline.com for more news? Thank you.